Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to All About Sports. Today, we discuss a surprising move that the Green Bay Packers traded up late in the first round of the 2020 draft last Thursday night, using the 26th pick to select the potential heir to Aaron Rodgers in Utah State man Jordan Love. At Utah State, he put up elite numbers in 2018 with his 32 passing touchdowns, as well he led the Aggies to an 11-2 record. But he struggled to replicate that performance in 2019, throwing 20 touchdowns and 17 interceptions in Utah State's 7-6 campaign. I'm your host, Luca Vitale, and joining me today is Ethan Polak. How you doing, Ethan?
I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm all right, thanks. All right, so with the Packers drafting Jordan Love, is this the end of the Aaron Rodgers era?
I'm going to say no, because if you think about it from a perspective of a Packers fan, I don't know, if I were a Packers fan, I don't know why they're getting angry at all right now, because this is not the first time this has happened. Because if you think back to the 2005 draft, when things were all simpler and Brett Favre was still the quarterback of the Green Bay Packers, and they thought this guy was going to be there all the way to the end, and then randomly out of nowhere, the guy from California named Aaron Rodgers falls in the draft all the way to the Green Bay Packers, one of their later picks, and they decided to pick him up. And that infuriated many of the Green Bay Packers fans, because they thought, oh, why are they drafting a quarterback this high when Brett Favre is the man? Well, Aaron Rodgers ended up sitting on the sidelines and being mentored by this Hall of Famer Brett Favre for 3 years, and then eventually he went into the NFL after Brett Favre got injured. And eventually he started to play, and he actually played very, very well. He's now called the bad man for a reason, because he is a bad man. Thank you, Stephen A. Smith, for that.
Bad man.
Yes, but him after being able to mentor for that long, Brett Favre is just kind of like the mentorship that's going to be used for Jordan Love, in my opinion, because like I said, this is not the first time that's happened. They're going to have him hopefully sit behind Aaron Rodgers. Yes, this is kind of scaring people as a quarterback as Aaron Rodgers, and this might make him mad because he was looking for a wide receiver, some type of weapon, because if you look at his weapons that he had, even though they made it, because they actually made it to the NFC Championship last year, that people forget that they made all the NFC Championship, and they're one of the key pieces that they were missing in that NFC Championship was a wide receiver and a run defense. But that run defense was probably something they should have gone after, but they didn't. But because that Aaron Rodgers was having all the success and they were looking for him, it's just kind of a backstab, I could tell, to all these fans, including Aaron Rodgers, for not picking someone up. Because another one of these stats that I found is that Aaron Rodgers has he's only thrown a touchdown to one first-round pick. Out of all the first-round picks, they've never really drafted any weapons for Aaron Rodgers the entire time he's been there. He's thrown one passing touchdown, and it was to Mercedes Lewis, the tight end that was a former first-round pick. He's only thrown one. You go and look at everyone else. You look at Drew Brees. He's got in the hundreds. He's got Tom Brady. He's up there in the hundreds. And you got someone like Aaron Rodgers with only one passing touchdown to a first-round pick. That shows you what he's had to deal with. But that's where his standpoint comes from, like people who are not for this trade. But for me, I see that as an opportunity, because drafting a quarterback young, having them behind a mentorship, giving them the years to build behind a Hall of Fame quarterback once again, because Aaron Rodgers is probably going to be a Hall of Fame quarterback just because of how great this is. I think this is amazing. I mean, it's worked once. Why can't it work again with a guy like Jordan Love, who fell in the draft, was supposed to be picked higher by some of the people despite his struggles in college? But I think this is a great pickup by the Packers and a great plan B, because Aaron Rodgers is getting up there in age, and you never know. Yes, he made it all 16 games last year for playing. Like, he made all 16 games. I mean, he played all the games this season, but he's 36. He might not be able to do that next year, and having a stable backup with Jordan Love, if he's ready to go in, would be huge for the Packers, especially with this win now mentality, and that's why I really do believe this is a great move by them.
Well, let me answer the question. This is not quite the end of the Aaron Rodgers era yet. And the only reason for that being is because of monetary purposes. Otherwise, yes, it is. If the Packers were to try to trade Rodgers, let's say tomorrow, even next week, they would have $51 million in dead money. And simply, they do not have the cap room to do that within the next 2 years. So Aaron Rodgers will be on this team this year and next year. I would be shocked to hear if Aaron Rodgers had to pass out of Green Bay. He still has 4 years left on his contract and $80.30 million on that contract. There is no way they trade Aaron Rodgers, and if they do, that's pretty hurtful. So if I was Aaron Rodgers right now, I would have a high level of frustration that I am harboring in my soul right now towards this organization. Why? So he was drafted in 2005, and he's been the starter since 2008, in which he sat 3 years, like you said, behind Brett Favre. This past Thursday was the first time the Packers even drafted an offensive player in the first round since, 2005 when Rodgers was drafted. It has been year after year after year. They have not drafted a tight end, a wide receiver, a running back, or any offensive player in the first round. This franchise has done nothing to go out of their way to give Rodgers the help he needs. They've given him the money, and this man has basically took this franchise, put it over his shoulders with the devoid of the necessary weapons he needs to legitimately win a Super Bowl championship with. Interestingly enough, he did not have a single receiver last season that had 1,000 receiving yards. Yes, Davante Adams, he had 997. That is still not 1,000. Not a single one of these players had 1,000 receiving yards last year. And what do? You go out and draft his successor. I don't understand that. I think it's hurtful and rude to Aaron Rodgers. The last time I checked, the Green Bay Packers were just in the NFC Championship game. Last time I checked, Lazard, Valdez-Scantling, Davante Adams, these guys can play. Davante Adams is the only one on the perimeter, and Aaron Rodgers could use some help in the tight end spot. That they lost Jimmy Graham, and they got Sternberger now going on their opening day, which he has not played a single snap. You could get some additional wide receivers to help this man.
Yeah, but see, my counterpoint to that is that, yes, Rodgers needs his wide receiver, but if you look, I think one of the ESPN guys did an analysis on where these, the last few wide receivers picked in that time frame of basically where the Packers traded up for him. Yes, they had the 30th pick, so they basically kind of took it from the 25th pick to the 30th. Wide receivers picked between then. There's wide receivers like Hopkins, DJ Moore, and Des Bryant. But you also look at the other wide receivers like Josh Doxson from Washington, Laquan Treadwell from Minnesota, and Brashad Perriman from Baltimore. Not all these guys always work out. The wide receiver taken, yes, there were unbelievably amount of wide receivers taken in this year's draft. There was nobody really left by the time the Packers got to them. So the wide receivers were already on the the best wide receivers were not available for these Packers to trade. If they really wanted a wide receiver, they probably would have traded up to the teens at least. But they stayed back and got him at the 26th pick. That's why I like this idea. The only problem with this whole Jordan Love thing is that people aren't talking about is that, yes, they picked Jordan Love. But if you go into the second round, their second pick, nobody is talking about that. They picked a running back with their second pick, A.J. Dillon. They didn't pick a defense to fix their run defense. Like I said earlier, they didn't pick a wide receiver like everyone's been asking. They didn't pick any of that, which is just beyond me how no one's really talking about that.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, that's very true.
Because they're just picking assets that they already have to have a plan B to make their parts that they already have stronger without filling the holes. There's still going to be leaks. They're still not going to. If they got to the NFC Championship, they need that one last asset that they're missing. And instead of just getting the stuff they already have, they're just putting more and more stacks on top of stuff that they already have.
The only reason they got to the NFC Championship game last year is because of that top 10 defense they had in the dynamic duo and Preston Smith and Zadara Smith, and then Aaron Rodgers. He basically carried this franchise to the NFC Championship last game. And apparently he had one of his worst years last year. You want to know what that bad year is? 4,000 passing yards, 26 touchdowns, and just 4 interceptions. The man has not thrown double-digit interceptions since 2010. Think about that. Just think about that.
Yeah, and to even add on to that, this is kind of a shade towards you, the Bears and the NFC North. And he went 6-0 in the division this year. Against the big Bears defense against all the people in the NFC North, which was supposed to be one of the most stacked like divisions in the entire league last year. They went 6-0 for a team with not many people on offense. It's unbelievable. But if you do look back, it's bunched because every single game was a very close game right to the end. They did go 13-3, but they did beat teams that were they had one of the easier schedules in the league, so to speak. So it was an easier way for them to the NFC Championship. But if I were them having this much success, it's kind of like going 13-3 and then firing your coach. It's like they did things right. Why don't you help them out? Why don't you add more pieces to it? But they did, and that's why. Yes, I still do agree that just Jordan Love is a great pickup for this mentorship. But the fact that they are in this win now situation, that they just made the NFC Championship, they're almost at that last step to get Aaron Rodgers a second Super Bowl. Why not help him out? So that's why it's like confusing.
Yes, exactly.
And that's why it's like you never know. And then I never answered the actual question: is this the end of the era for Rodgers in Green Bay? I have to agree with you for the 2 years. Like, he's still going to stay here. He loves Green Bay. He's shown that he's literally said on everything, especially on the Pat McAfee podcast, that he wants to stay with the Packers for as long as he can. And he's only 36. He says he wants to play for as long as he can. He's going to turn to Brady. With all this like technology nowadays that these guys are able to stay longer and longer in the league. Tom Brady's still playing, and he's almost 43, almost 44. Like, he is reaching that limit. Like, he's just breaking the borders, and who's to say that Rodgers can't do that? So
exactly, no one said that, and I honestly think Rodgers can play till his mid-40s as well. I really think he can.
So that's why it's like concerning that the Packers are really moving on this early for him. But it's great to have a backup plan, and that's why I like it. The only problem is with Jordan Love, he was his Mitch Trubisky-esque stats, or should I really compare him to his Jameis Winston, as he almost had his 30 for 30.
That is not a fair comparison. That is not.
Yeah, I mean, he was Jordan Love at Utah State had last year in the 2019 season, the year that stood out to people. He had 20 touchdowns, great for him, but he had 17 interceptions, which was the most in the FBS, which is unbelievable for someone that's getting picked that high with that many interceptions. It's kind of a risky move for someone with that much talent. I am happy, though, too, which is another reason why I am for it, is because the Patriots were supposed to take him, and they didn't even take a quarterback. So thank God there's no new quarterback coming to the AFC East. Thank you for that. But instead, you NFC North people got to deal with this Jordan Love guy now, which he looks like he has potential. Like, he has serious potential.
Oh, my God.
His interception's the only thing he's got to fix. So is he a Jameis? Is he a future Hall of Famer, just like all these Brett Favres and Aaron Rodgers before him? I don't know. It'll just depend on how these people survive it. But.
All right, listen here, Mr. Personal Feelings in your division. We understand Jordan Love can play, okay? He's 21, we get that. But you do have the obligation to look towards the future. I get that too. I understand there is such thing as prioritizing and taking care of the people that are taking care of you now. Aaron Rodgers is taking care of you right now. The problem with this franchise is you're looking 3-4 years in the future. Worry about right now. Worry about getting back to the NFC Championship and winning a Super Bowl. Worry about getting those necessary weapons that Aaron Rodgers needs to succeed. Yes, you can compete, and yes, you can be great, but you can compete only to a certain level because you do not have the necessary weapons to compete with.
Yeah, I mean, they're missing that key weapon. And how many times can we say it? They're missing their weapons, and that's why maybe because they still have some decent wide receivers. They have Lazard, who was an undrafted free agent. They still have Valdez-Scantling to go along with Devontae Adams, but they really need more of a standout guy that could really go alongside Devontae Adams to take the load off of him and allow Devontae Adams to get open more often, because people are double teaming him constantly. He's being there's always eyes on him. And then from the tight end spec, they also got rid of their tight end. Who the heck is their tight end? Nobody knows.
It's like Sternberger. I think like he was a draft pick from last year. He's not played a single snap in the NFL. And remember, Jimmy Graham was on this team last year.
Yeah.
No one even knows who the Sternberger is, and we don't know what to expect. So basically, their tight end position right now is vacant.
These are just very, very questionable moves. But from a future standpoint, it looks very, very bright. But from a Aaron Rodgers win now standpoint, this is the worst thing that could probably happen. And Rodgers did say he did talk with Jordan Love, which if you think about it from a more of a perspective of a Jordan Love type guy, imagine being in his shoes right now. You're just being drafted to a team that you thought you thought you were going to be drafted to a team where you're going to be able to learn a lesson. People are going to like you. He's been in this way. He instantly got drafted, and people are booing him. They're freaking out. That's just not the mentality that you think that anyone would really want going into the gate. No. I mean, he's literally. If I were him, I think I'd take it as a positive because you're behind freaking Aaron Rodgers, great quarterback to learn behind. But if for a situation for him that was looking to get a starting job as soon as possible, that may not happen now that Rodgers is, if he stays healthy and if he still continues to do what he's been doing, I don't really see Jordan Love coming out much, or I don't really see him being a starter for the Green Bay Packers anytime soon.
So what I can say about the mentoring aspect of this, I believe Aaron Rodgers will be a better mentor to Jordan Love than Brett Favre was to Aaron Rodgers. Let's get that straight. Also, I believe that the Packers, they do not care how Rodgers feels. Basically what happened is they've empowered new coach and Matt LaFleur. To me, that is absolutely mind-boggling because let's think about why he took the job in the first place. Does it have to do something with Aaron Rodgers being there? Probably. Let's remember here about something. Matt LaFleur was the offensive coordinator for the Tennessee Titans in 2018. The Tennessee Titans that season had the 27th ranked offense. That is the bottom 5 of the entire NFL. You get the job and you took it because of Aaron Rodgers. You got to a 13-3 season. Your defense was buffered up for you. And you have a potential Hall of Famer quarterback behind the helm for you. And instead of giving him help, you go out and draft his successor. That's just real smart. The left of comfort and entitlement. Looking at the 3 and 4 years ahead instead of looking at now, the man is going to be 37 years of age, I believe, in 2 months or something. And not thinking about winning now is just utterly ridiculous to me.
Yeah, and I mean, there's really nothing else to say other than what are these Packers? What's going through these people's mind? I mean, the Packers are the only organization that's really run by the people, yet these decisions are coming out of nowhere, and it's like, what the heck is happening? And especially as a Packers fan, that know that they really have a piece of the franchise. Really, they don't. They just help out with the general managers. But they're the ones who elect these general managers. So, I mean, this is kind of a backstab to the fans and along with Aaron Rodgers and their whole legacy that they've built, especially for Rodgers. This legacy that he's building in Green Bay, he's really kept this franchise alive. And then you're going to be able to do that. I think it's just outrageous. And if I were Rodgers, I'd be angry. But going back to our question once again, is this the end of the Rodgers era? I mean, it's slowly but surely coming to an end, but I believe he's still got a few more years under the belt before it is sincerely the end of the Aaron Rodgers era in Green Bay.
So listen up here. The thing is that gets me, we know Jordan Love's 21, but if Aaron Rodgers is shipped out of town in 2 years and Jordan Love is a bust, both Matt LaFleur and the general manager are both going to be fired. And they're going to be living on the street because they were that stupid to do something like this. You take a man who is thrown for 364 career touchdowns in just 84 interceptions, so that's a near a 5-to-1 ratio, has not thrown double-digit interceptions since 2010, which was the Super Bowl they won that year, which he had 11 interceptions that year, and the most he's ever thrown interception-wise is 13. If that happens to be the case, it is going to be a disaster for this franchise because they got rid of that bad man in Aaron Rodgers and they replaced it with the bust. So they better pray Jordan Love is the guy and he's not a bust. That's what I got to say.
My question is, do you know, or do you think Aaron Rodgers is going to get traded, and if so, where?
If he gets traded, which in 2 years it is easily possible because of the money, I would not be surprised, Packer fans, if he goes to the Bears. I would not be surprised.
I mean, they've already got Nick Foles under the belt with Trubisky. How many more veterans do they need to add to train Trubisky?
Who knows? But I'm telling you right now, if Rodgers goes to the Bears, that is a Super Bowl team right there. And if Rodgers wins a Super Bowl in Chicago, that is every Green Bay Packer fan's nightmare.
I mean, for me, if I saw really anywhere Rodgers going, I don't really see people. What I've been reading is that Aaron Rodgers is getting traded to New England. I don't think so.
No.
Because first off, he's a California boy. He doesn't really like the cold. He does play in Green Bay, but for playing under Bill Belichick, that's like
Yeah.
I don't see Aaron Rodgers and Bill Belichick meeting because those two have been rivals for
That's
4
like
years.
being in cultural shock, for God's sake.
Yes. I see him going more to a franchise that just is missing like that last mentorship piece. Like they have a brand new rookie quarterback. Why not 2 years down the belt if the Arizona Cardinals, if they start winning with Kyler Murray, what if they send him back to the Western area? Why not send him to maybe even like the 49ers if they're still struggling with Jimmy G? You realize that Rodgers, his dream team, his biggest team growing up was the 49ers. That was his bestie team. He was this close to getting drafted by them. And instead of the 49ers picking Rodgers in the first round of that draft, and I think it was the first pick, they chose Alex Smith over Rodgers, who then became devastated in the 2005 draft. And then that's how he ended up with the Packers, because he didn't get selected by the 49ers, who were the only real team looking for a quarterback of his caliber, which means that I think that if with all that these 49ers team have, if they still are able to keep these pieces that they have, and if Jimmy G continues to struggle, why not go after Rodgers?
Okay, I have a question for you then. So if they decide to go after Rodgers, it's possible, but they're committed to Jimmy G with all the money they put in him. That's the problem I have. Otherwise, I could see it.
Yeah, my thing is, with like as we keep discussing, if 2 years from now, if Jimmy G is not it, which certainly may happen, even though he's our Rolling Meadows, he's our Rolling Meadows bestie that we love talking about because he's from our area. But
yeah,
if they really was going to go anywhere, I see him as a 49er, because he would. I'd tell you, if he had the chance to go play for the 49ers right now, he'd go in a heartbeat, just because of how much he likes it. Like he's shown me, he has pictures of himself all over the world, like in the draft, of him wearing 49ers gear. And that was his dream team. He loved the Joe Montana. If he was able to go play for someone go meet Joe Montana and go play for his team, I mean, who wouldn't do that? That's like saying, like, me as a Dolphins fan, why, like, I had a chance to go play for the Miami Dolphins. Who wouldn't turn that down? I'm a huge Dolphins fan. I mean, come on. Who wouldn't want to do that? So, I mean, if that's your dream team, and yes, he's been on the Packers for a while. He's invested so much into that. But if he really wants to go look for somewhere new, if Rodgers' era is done in Green Bay, I'd go after the San Francisco 49ers.
All right, all. Thanks for watching another episode of All About Sports with Ethan and I talking about the Packers. We'll see you later on.